What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, coming back at y'all with another episode. Thursday, June 10th, man. We're getting to the end of the week. Make sure to go catch up on all our 2-minute drills from the beginning of the week, our interviews, everything that we've posted thus far this week and earlier this month. Great episode yesterday talking about the 12-team playoff model. So if you ain't a fan, go check it out, because I promise you I can probably convince you to get on that bandwagon with me. But we're going to have another issue today in college football that me and Brandon are going to kind of debate here on what side we're on, what the best thing for the future of college football is. It all stems from a Nicole Arbach and Max Olson Athletic article. Check out The Athletic, man. One of the best sites out there. It is a subscription site, but I promise you it's worth like the $4 a month.
It's not even like, I think they run promotions all the time. I think you can get like a year for $1 right now.
Yeah, something like that. So make sure to go subscribe to The Athletic. That's where a lot of our guests have come for our different conference themes. So shout out to them. We support them, even though we're not part of that company. We support them, man, because they have some of the best guests we've had.
But if you're from The Athletic and you're listening to this, we would like to
call me right now. I'll be on the first flight out of Manhattan, Kansas. But it starts out with this article, man, which they interviewed a bunch of college coaches about roster management, Brandon. We kind of talked about this a few weeks back when we just talked about the future of college football recruiting and how people were complaining about roster limits. Well, they got a lot of coaches' opinions in here. Mac Brown was one of the coaches they talked to, which is the head coach of North Carolina, where he's saying that if you have 3 running backs leave at this time of the year, who get mad, and you have 2 quarterbacks leave, it's too late to replace them unless you go pull someone from the portal who's already in the portal, because you can't bring any more high school players on. There's no limit to how many players a program could lose to the transfer portal in one offseason. There's not like a cap, like where if you're not one of the first 10 that transfer, you can't transfer. You can leave whenever you want to leave. But there still remains that strict limit on how many signees they can bring in per offseason, which is 25 scholarship players. That is the cap. You can't exceed that. You cannot go – well, I mean, I guess you can go below it, but you can't exceed 25 scholarship players. Louisville coach Scott Satterfield said it's insane what's happening right now. It's the most challenging thing that you can do. And I think that there was an interesting coach quote here. I have to find it real quick. Okay, Dave Clawson from Wake Forest made a really good argument, Brandon. He said, quote, "They've opened the output valve on our roster where all this stuff can flow out." And he made it easier for kids to leave, but they haven't opened the input valve where you can replace all that talent you lost with kids coming in. So he said, if you're going to lose 9, 10, 11 kids per year, how are you possibly going to have a full roster once they get back to 85? It's not a problem right now because the NCAA, but with the super seniors and everything, a lot of teams aren't necessarily struggling with this. But next year is where this is really going to come into play. And so some of the things that have come up, the ACC's proposal has released a proposal for this, Brandon. They said that they want to allow programs to be able to replace every player who enters the draft or medically retires. So if you have like an insane year, they can bump that up a little bit for like a team like Clemson. So let's say they had like 14 players go to the draft early or some crazy stat like that. They would bump that limit up depending on how many players they needed to replace it. The AAC's proposal is they can have an additional signee per signee that doesn't make it in, gets released from their national letter of intent, has their scholarship pulled, or does not attend the school. So let's say we can even use Eric Gilbert. So LSU would get like an additional signee since like he backed out, or if he backed out last year or something like that. So if you have a true freshman coming into campus, he's out, you get that extra signee. And there was also a quote here from Brian Harsin from Auburn, where he said his simple, straightforward way to fix this is allow a school a chance to manage all 85, which is the roster limit for college football, 85 players. He said, take the initials out of it. If you lose 5, you sign 5. If you lose 10, you can sign 10. If you understand why the 25-man limit was created in the first place, though, it's clear why others haven't kind of jumped onto this. So, Brandon, this is an interesting graphic. I don't know if I can show this or not. This is in this exclusive article. I don't want to get copyrighted or yelled at, but it's the transfer portal loss leader since October 1st of 2020. Tennessee, Brandon, has lost 25 players to the transfer portal.
Can we link this in the comments or the bio or something?
Yeah. We'll link the article to the video, but this is just the top 3, Brandon, or 4. Tennessee has lost 25 players to the portal.
Yeah.
And they're only allowed 25 signees, not even including the players that just graduated.
Right.
Kansas and Michigan State have lost 22 players to the portal. Mississippi State, Missouri, 20, and Auburn, Vanderbilt, 19 players to the portal. That's like the top of the list. And so, Brandon, the key here is a lot of these programs have first or second year head coaches coming into this year. Right. So how hard is it for someone like Josh Heupel to replace 25 transfer portal losses on top of graduation, on top of I guess early commit, whatever you want to call them, and then Brandon, this is actually going to be very interesting for you. Is that one of the arguments to increase this was LSU last year, who was barely over the scholarship limit toward the end of the season because they had so many players opt out. They had so many players transfer after the season. They had so many players go to the draft, and they were only allowed 25 signees. But, Brandon, there was a time last year, I don't know if you remember, I think it was like week 11 or so, where they barely had enough players to play a game.
Right.
So that's one of the arguments for this. So, yeah, I found it here. So, LSU last season, Brandon, they had only 71 scholarship players to start the 2020 season. To start off with, they lost 14 NFL draft picks, 6 to the transfer portal, and 3 opt-outs. Then you have the injuries to Miles Brennan. Then you have the midseason opt-outs. They had fewer than 50 players in their final game of the season.
No, I know. I mean, the reason the Alabama game was canceled originally at the beginning of November is, one, because of a COVID outbreak, but also LSU was like dangerously close to not having enough scholarship athletes to even play that game. And like they may have gone under that number. I remember
I think they did.
I remember it was super close, and I think they actually did go into that number.
Yeah, but I mean, how in the world do you expect Tennessee to be able to replace this? So let's just get into like the kind of the debate here, Brandon. There's like a 3-parter. You can take them one at a time. 1, do you think this is a real problem in college football? 2, what would your solution be? And 3, do you think the NCAA can really do anything?
Man, this is going to be fun. Yes, I do think there's a problem. Is that the first question? Okay, so
yes.
I do think there's an issue. I think that what this does is this creates like, I guess, magnet schools in a way, like schools that everybody wants to go to, because if you go to Alabama, you hardly see players enter the transfer portal because they're going to get a chance to play at some point. Of course, you're going to see a few. Every single school is going to have players transfer. But you're going to, like, you didn't mention Alabama on that list. That's probably because they don't have anybody transferring out, Zach. Nobody who's worth anything. And so we see that. Clemson, yes, graduates a lot, yes, but they always fill out their 25 player scholarship limit. I think that we'll create more parity in college football by altering this rule and allowing for not necessarily more than the 25 signing limit, but you'll understand once I get to my solution. Do you want me to go ahead with my solution, or do you want to?
Go ahead. Yeah, pull it out. Let's talk about it.
My solution is I think you have a set number of scholarship players you can have on your roster at any given point. And I mean, we're already kind of treating the transfer portal like this is professional sports, right, Zach? I mean, we're treating it like a business. And so why not go all in on this, make it fully a business, and be able to manage X amount of scholarship players on your team? You know, whether that be, I don't know, like 65 scholarship athletes you can have at a time on your team. I was leaning 75 because that gives you 25 signees per class, but then you only have 85 players on a roster. So I think 65 would be a safer number, or 60, somewhere between 50 and 65, I think. You have that 65 number, you bring in 25 signees, and then you have 40 players to play around with. Whether that be 25 guys from the previous two classes, you have you have guys transfer out, you get transfers into your program, you offer them a scholarship, stuff like that. Zach, I think offering just that base 25 per signing period seems a little ridiculous, especially when you take into account injuries throughout the season, transfers out of the school. I mean, you could sign 25 kids onto your roster, Zach, and then only have 25 scholarship players. Like that could be your team. You could have, besides that, you could have like all walk-ons, and of course, guys that you've offered scholarships to after the fact. But like, you could be like playing with the bare minimum players, especially if you're at a smaller school. So I think that by setting this base amount, by this 65 player limit on each team, we'd be making these teams in the group of five more powerful. We'd be able to have them compete against Power 5 programs in some cases. I mean, if each team has the same amount of athletes that they can have on scholarship on the team at the same time, Zach, then why wouldn't we see more transfers to these smaller schools from these guys who can't who maybe can't cut it at the top programs like Alabama? I mean, the reason we don't see that already, the reason we don't see players just transfer freely already is because they have to think about themselves and they have to think about their financials, Zach. And so you're going to transfer to the school that's going to give you a full scholarship over the one that lets you be a preferred walk-on, where you have to pay full tuition, you have to pay for housing, you have to pay for everything on your own.
Yeah. So your model is kind of like what Harson's is, except like a little more where it's just, if you lose 10 players to the transfer portal or something crazy, you should be able to sign all 10. You should have 10 spots left due to that.
Exactly. And to be like short on the third question, can the NCAA do anything about it? Absolutely. What do you mean, can they do anything about it? They can absolutely.
Will they might be the better one. Will they?
Will they? Probably not. They'll probably do something. They won't do this idea though. They'll probably end up doing something like way worse. I'm not sure what.
I feel like they're going to do something just complicated where it's
it's going to end up being like if you, it's going to be like half a player for each player that leaves. So like if 10 players leave, you can sign 5 more. That's going to be it. It's going to be something stupid.
Man, so I have like a few ideas, and it's like I know that I know there's not just going to be one straightforward solution, but Brandon, I think introducing a third signing day would help.
Do you?
I know that sounds stupid right now. I know that sounds outrageous, but hear me out. How many 3-stars, borderline 2 3-stars, would benefit from holding off till signing in May when the roster situation is much more clear, because you have to be in the portal by a certain date or you're not even eligible to play. So a lot of like your main losses are going to come right around the end of spring practice. So if you can have these athletes that are borderline additions to a roster, how many more opportunities are going to opt up for some of these under the radar guys on some of these big rosters where they have to be brought in to fix a need?
I mean, now that you mention it like that, Zach, especially since with the NCAA's like base rule of you have to be in the portal by May 1st, I think that would help a lot, actually. That does make a lot of sense.
Set it for like May 15th. That'd be third national signing day. And we already see it could happen. JT Tuimalau, a 5-star, the number 3 rated prospect in this in the country right now for this past recruiting cycle, is taking official visits right now because he said he didn't want to make a decision during COVID when he couldn't visit campuses.
Right.
So don't tell me that it can't be done. A signing day on May 15th, how many 4-stars? Like, let's say you have offers from LSU, Auburn, Bama, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, all around the country, and you don't really know where you're going to get a chance to play. Hold off till May 15th, and then you'll have a better idea of what needs the roster has, and you can go to the best place that gives you an immediate chance to play. And if you're a 3-star where it's like, man, I either got to go to Rice or, hey, Alabama said, man, we just don't know if we have a spot for you. Well, wait till May 15th. Alabama might have a spot for you, and if not, Rice is still going to be there.
Right.
And I really, really like the Clausen comment where he's like, you opened up the output valve. I mean, but you didn't change the input valve. So like we're only pushing in 25 people, but you're letting 45 players leave an off season.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if just it sounds great to say, man, if you lose 20, you can replace it with 20, but I just don't know if I don't know how feasible that is in the long run. But I feel like it has to be some type of like I'm a statistics guy, so like I feel like there has to be like some type of weighted equation where like yes, if you lose so many scholarship players to the NFL draft, you should have that many spots open, all that, and then for like the transfer portal, if you lose, I don't know how you would do it because like I think by pushing National Signing Day back, the problem is you can't recruit kids out of high school to replace those spots. So you're taking a waiver on a senior, right? It's like usually a graduate transfer or like someone with like a year or two of eligibility. And then you're back with the same problem where you don't have someone from that spot in a year.
Right.
Recruiting a high school kid is going to offer a long-term solution where you can kind of fight to get more consistency and make these rosters less volatile. And I know we took a strong stand a few weeks ago when there was a coach complaining, I don't remember who it was. They were just like, that's a lot of math. And I'm like, you get paid $8 million a year to do math. And that's true. You should be able to like find a way within the given framework to make it work. But I feel like for the future of college football to work, we need to be more flexible. And Brandon, I think this goes for business. This goes for life. Everything isn't black and white. There's hard limits hardly ever work. Like there is some gray area. And I think the NCAA, and I think the first step, the NCAA always takes that small step, Brandon. They never come in with a sledgehammer and fix everything. Even if they say, okay, you can sign up to 25 to 35 players and we're going to give you these set of boundaries for special circumstances. I think the first step, Brandon, I don't know if it's right, but I think the first step that they're going to do, and a lot of people are going to argue, is that now with the transfer portal being wide open, first-year head coaches should get an exception.
Meaning what?
Because all the players from that previous coach are going to be more willing to transfer now at the one-time transfer rule. There is no reason Josh Heupel should have to deal with 25 transfer portal losses, along with the NFL draft going, along with graduations. And so what? He's probably having to replace, 45 players with 25 right now?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no reason a coach – I mean, how are you supposed to be competitive in the SEC, Brandon, and you lost 45 players and you get 25 to maybe replace them?
Right. It's ridiculous. And Zach, okay, so that's also one of my ideas with the 65 player limit on scholarship is that, yes, with that means you can recruit as many players as you want to fill that 65 or take in as many transfers as you need to. But also these group of 5 programs or even the Power 5 programs that don't fill up all 25 recruiting spots in 1 year, you can roll those over to the next season. And so say you only get 20 players assigned to your program. And then, but other than that, your scholarships are full. You have 65, or you have 60 now. You go to the next recruiting cycle, you can sign 30 kids. I mean, to me, that might be a little bit out there, and that obviously won't be the solution for the NCAA. That's a little bit too business-like. It's a little bit too close to professional football. But I honestly think that's the way that we get the best end result in college football.
Yeah, and for me, the other National Signing Day is because, Brandon, we talked about it. A lot of people are predicting high school opportunities getting more limited and more limited because these openings are coming after these high school kids are locked out.
Right.
How many kids are good enough to be on that roster that can't because now they're not on a team somewhere? Yeah. And can't be a transfer in. Chris Kleiman at K-State, Brandon, in this article said, the program at K-State, their goal is to sign 8 to 10 transfers a year from now on, every year in the program, because he said that's how they're going to have to plan summer transfers and spring transfers. Sign 8 to 10 every single recruiting class just in case someone leaves. And if they don't leave, those kids get gray shirted or whatever it is.
Right.
That's crazy that has to happen. And Brandon, also, I mean, with the May transfer portal, I think that also helps first year head or the May signing day. That also helps first year head coaches. Look at what just happened with Kansas. That dude didn't even get in the building. Leipold didn't even get in the building till like mid-May.
Right.
So he didn't get to sign anybody, Brandon. He didn't get to run spring practice. He didn't get to hire staff. He didn't get to recruit nothing. And now if you give him a May 15th, it'll be more flexible because as we keep moving this signing day up, man, if we talked about the other episode, if you don't fire your coach in October, you're going to be screwed.
Right.
Because it's like what? The season ends, the last regular season week of the season, technically Army Navy on like the first week of December, but usually that's like the conference championships. But like it's mainly like that weekend right after Thanksgiving, like the 28th, the last week of November. So you got that, and then National Signing Day is what, 2 weeks from that?
Right.
There's no way to do a full coaching search and everything like that. So it's going to be so. And I just want to say, there's a lot of people out there, Brandon, who are in support of cutting roster sizes and cutting signee limits and stuff like that. Dude, please stop, because it's figureheads like Colin Cowherd, figureheads like, all these pro guys who are like, to increase the parity, you got to cut the roster size to 55. And it's like, that's the dumbest idea I have ever heard. Because one, if you cut it to 55, Nick Saban's still going to sign the top 20 guys in the class, and they're still going to it doesn't increase parity. Just because you cut the size doesn't mean anything, because all they're going to do is cut the 6-string guys. Their top 40 players are all going to be 5-stars still. That doesn't increase the recruiting parity per se.
I disagree with you there, Zach.
Come on, bro.
I hate that. I hate that we have to do this so late in the episode, but I really do disagree with you, because those 5th and 6th string guys at Alabama are pretty good players. Do you agree? Do you think they're good?
Yeah,
they're good. And so say they end up at a school like Tulane, or they end up at a school like Southern Miss. You don't think, dude, come on. They're going to make those programs.
You know what it's going to – it's a waterfall, Brandon. Yeah, those 6-string guys from Alabama are going to become 1st-string guys at Cincinnati, Memphis, everything. Their 6-string guys are going to go to FCS. You know what's going to happen to those FCS guys who are starting? They're not going to have a job or a scholarship, Brandon.
I disagree with you 1,000,000%.
Someone's going to have to lose a job.
Justin Jefferson was a 2-star recruit, Zach. If he doesn't end up at LSU, because he didn't play his first season, if he doesn't end up at LSU, then he ends up at Southern University. And what does he do?
He takes a spot away from someone who was already a wide receiver at Southern.
It doesn't matter if he takes away. Whoever's better is going to play, Zach.
I get that. But now if you cut scholarship, listen, our whole thing here has been. I'm not saying
it's a good idea. I'm saying that it will increase parity.
I still don't think it will.
How?
Because the best players are still going to go to the best schools.
Okay, but every single 5-star recruit that comes out of a high school they aren't the best players in the world, not all of them. I mean, some of them disappear. And then you have these 3-star guys coming out they might as well be 6 stars because they're that.
You know who's going to disappear? The ones who get demoted.
Zach, if they were going to disappear, then it doesn't matter anyway. They obviously weren't the best players on their team.
I disagree. I don't think it's going to increase parity, and I'm not for any plan that decreases the opportunities for high school athletes.
I'm not for it either. I just think it will increase parity. I think my idea 1,000,000%. Go ahead and set that 65-player limit on scholarships and let Rice University recruit 40 players in one offseason, please.
I still think the top of the top will be fine, but that's a whole other episode. We'll have to make that a topic. But guys, me and Brandon both think that 25 signing limit should be increased for the offseason. Comment below, let us know, man, what y'all think here. Make sure to go check our episode yesterday for the 12-team playoff. Right here on the 2-minute drill, the Blue Bloods are improving college football 1 2-minute drill at a time. So make sure to support it, man. Thumbs up on the video, hit the notification bell, subscribe, man. We are inching to 300 subscribers, man. Never thought that many people would want to hear what me and Beto were trying to say, man. So we appreciate all the support from y'all. But today, our Missouri interview is out, so go check that out for our SEC in 30 days. Great interview, man. awesome time there. But also check out the 2-minute drill coming out tomorrow to wrap up the week, Monday through Friday, right here on our YouTube channel. Blue Bloods always do it big, baby, with the 2-minute drill. We got some big announcements and guests coming up. So stay tuned for those. But guys, for B-Dub, for myself, the 2-minute drill, and the Blue Bloods, we are out.